Hi guys, welcome back to OffBrand with OnBrand. Today we have a very special guest, the famous Lillian Ebani. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Lil, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
I doubt that anybody doesn't know who you are, but just in case you're living under a rock, Lillian Ebani is the youth program director at the Sephardic Community Center. She's been doing this over 20 years. There is nobody better, and she's been involved in so many generations of kids from when I'm young to my kids now. So, Lil, we can't wait. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
So I guess for everyone listening, especially me, also, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this work and your
background.
Story, your background?
So I am a twin, and
Fun fact, that's my mom.
Yay, twin.
yes,
My mom's the twin.
Diane's mom is my twin. Growing up as a twin was definitely a challenge, good thing, but challenge, trying to differentiate yourself from the other person. And I guess I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I, got older. This sort of grew out of, being a counselor in camp and getting great feedback. Lisa Didier was my division head at the time. And, she would just always tell me, how great you are, how amazing you are, what a great teacher you are. She was a teacher or was becoming a teacher at the time. It kind of stuck with me in my head. And at the time, I still thought that I would do other things. I was in college. I went to NYU for my degree, my bachelor's in psychology. But at the time, it was very different than when you guys are going to school and college now. It was very, very rare for a woman to go to college when me and Annie went. And it was certainly rare for a woman to have a career. Almost all of the girls that are married with children and grandchildren nowadays that are my age never had a job, never had a career, never went to college.
It wasn't even something you were thinking about.
So I was thinking, well, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get my degree. I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to do some other things. I decided on psychology, but I was like, how am I going to be a psychologist and still be able to get married and have a family?
Also, there was still such a stigma at that time about therapy and psychology, so that even layered on even more.
I don't even know if I got to that point of thinking that I was going to be a psychologist.
Like, okay, backup plan.
My mother was always...
Who's your mother?
My mother is Linda Ebani, your
Shout
grandma.
out.
We love you, Grandma Linda.
So Grandma Linda always raised us very, very independently. We always had our own thoughts and opinions and mind, and she encouraged us to be individuals, and she encouraged us to be women of value. I mean, my mother is the most shatra person that I could ever find.
But she still values education.
But she valued education, she valued work, and while she didn't collect a paycheck, my mother practically worked my entire, young
volunteering
adult
and
life
helping
and
out,
such. Running, she was the head of the PTA, she was the head of the board of Hillel, she was running, all of the
Family
Chinese
things
auctions
too.
and
I love
everything.
that.
So, for all intents and purposes,
You thought she was working. Didn't matter.
she was working.
So how did we get to the center?
When I graduated college, with my bachelor's, so the first 4 years, I was sort of rudderless. I mean, if you could imagine going through 4 years of college and still not knowing
What you want to do.
what I wanted to do, because in my head it was still, you got to date and you got to get married. And so I was trying to figure out really where I was going to land. I went back to school for a program in video and film editing, which is a skill that I do have till this day. I took a job in video editing for a little while, and I realized that I wasn't going to get where I wanted to be, being who I was, a woman, and a Jewish woman, and I couldn't work on Shabbat, and I couldn't.
It was too limiting.
At the time, Auntie Alice Ajmi was on the board of the center, and they knew of all my camp skills, and I was still working in camp in the summers.
So you were Camp David in the summer.
All this time, I was still Camp David in the summer.
Were you moving up the ranks, or you were just still a counselor?
Was definitely moving up the ranks. I can't say enough about the guidance and support that Marilyn Towell gave me, not only professionally, in showing me how much I can do in camp, but just emotionally and, just being there as an incredible
Support.
role model
Yeah.
and support, which I think is key for teenagers. Lisa Didia, also Abe Towell gave me a lot of opportunity to go in and change program and, work that side, which was my, first experience with really, building program. The generations that I've worked with have spanned from the early 2000s till
Us?
today. So,
Millennials.
it spanned from your generation.
Were we like your first generation that you worked
A
with?
few years older than me.
It was probably a little bit older than you because I had worked in Camp David
Okay.
for 10
Yeah.
years before I even
Yeah.
started at the center. I didn't start at the center until I was 27 years old. The center was organized differently at the time. There was a juniors department, and then there was an athletic and league department, and then there was an early childhood department. And each department would run their own Sunday programs.
Okay.
And so I came in to help Natalie. And then after the first year, maybe, I moved up to working in the sports department in athletic and league and helping run their Sunday programs. And then in 2008, Mayor Jolovitz, who was the head of athletic and league at the time, I told him that it just didn't make sense to have all of the different departments running their own Sunday
Yeah, like one
programs.
person just oversee it.
Because one mother will drop off a child in early childhood and a boy for the sports, and then somebody else for this other. And the times were different for drop off. I mean, it was just
a mess.
It
So
was
you
a mess.
came in and you streamlined it. You
So
made
I
it
said,
easier for
we
parents.
need to make a youth department that covers all youth from 3 years old, that are all run under one umbrella. We have the same dates, we have the same times for drop off, we have the same procedures. Where registration is all the same, so you don't have to call 3 different people
Yes.
to
Thank
register
you.
for one day.
Thank you. Somebody was thinking of mothers.
So that started in 2008.
Okay.
And then, we grew from there. Programming, thank goodness, is, very successful.
I remember
What
the
is it?
canteen bar.
Oh my God.
With
Everybody
with
remembers the melted Hershey
the
bar.
melted Hershey bar ingrained in my
on
subconscious.
a paper plate haunts me.
Haunts.
We don't do that
And the
anymore.
melted pizza bagels. Thank God the center got a very needed upgrade.
The
But
center is, in the last 2 years since Lewis took over, is nutritionally healthy.
You know what? That's also something I want to thank you on behalf of parents.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids going to center and getting every dye under the
It's
sun
so
when
fun,
it's something
like-
I'm working on not having in my house. I like that the vending machine, there's thoughtful options there. So shout out to Raquel Jerome because I know you had that.
Yes.
I want to turn it back to you about being a program director. What does that mean? What does being a program director mean? What do you do?
I am basically programming everything from the craft to the sport to the trip that every kid is going on
Wow.
all of the days that we have
For
programmed.
every
Wow.
age.
For every
So
age.
you're picking the projects that that you think the kids will enjoy for the 3-year-old boys, and the girls going on a field trip at second grade. You know where to send them. How do you what informs all of that?
Experience, mainly experience. I've tried every project under the sun, and we decide, what the 3-year-olds are going to do, what the 4-year-olds are going to do, what the 5-year-olds
So it's
are going to
really
do.
very thought out.
And so forth. It is very thought out and planned. I always joke with my staff that the parents don't even know how intentional everything is
love
I like that. We're
though.
talking
we
about this.
do and present to them. Every item that comes home with your child was planned in conjunction with whatever it is that we were working on that day.
So there's so much
And the
decision making that goes behind this. It's not just watch my kids for the day.
No.
It is not, and it is definitely not. And there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Every Lego project that's done is hand picked. Then the pieces are ordered, and then we pack the set during the week before
I never
we
heard of
get
this.
to the Friday
Wow.
or Sunday that we're doing
You're not
the
just
program.
going on the Amazon and clicking project for kid, Lego, click.
We are not.
Wow.
Wow.
And,
I
you
mean,
know,
that makes me feel better as a parent who's spending the money and paying. And obviously, like, we're trying to do so many things for our kids. Like, it makes me feel so much better that there's so much thought that goes behind what you're doing for my child's
we are
benefit.
not a babysitting service.
Yes.
We don't want to be a babysitting service. That is not what we project to be. We want the kids to have an enriching quality experience where they are they're getting exposed to new activities. They're able to try different things because that is how a child learns what they like and what they don't like. Instead of the parent having to pick for them, and I'm taking you here, or I'm sending you to sports class, or I'm sending you to
giving
this.
them a well-rounded.
They're getting, between all of the programs that we're able to provide, they're getting a nice, different selection of activities that they may be able to connect with.
You see the kids on a level that their parents don't see them, with their friends outside of home. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Every kid is an individual. So every child that's dropped off has to be looked at as an individual child. Yes, they may be a 3-year-old and they have things in common with other 3-year-olds or other 5-year-olds or other 10-year-olds. But every child has their own experiences. Every child has their own situations that happen at home, happen in school, happen with their friends. And that all informs them into being the individual person that they are with the feelings and thoughts that they have. And this starts from when they're 3 years old, and it doesn't stop. They just keep getting more information and more information. But at the same time, there is also the part of a child that is inborn. That's their, nature that they're born with. And that also has to be, taken into account. So some children have a little bit more anxiety than other children. Some children have a little more ADD than some children. Some children may have more behavioral issues than other children socially, it's a very delicate process to be able to deal with each child in their own world of thoughts and emotions and
when
feelings.
there's a million kids coming into the center.
Yeah.
When there's a million kids coming into the center. But we do look at each child as an individual, and you're right. We are able to see things, and teachers are able to see things as well, that parents don't necessarily see when their child, first of all, you have your child from when they're born. It's like, going away and not seeing somebody for a year, and then when you come back and you look at them, you see all of the changes.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure.
You're not going to notice those changes in your child that you see every single day. A lot of kids save it for when they're home, and they'll bring all of their emotions with them home, and they'll take it all out on their parents. And there are some kids that are opposite, that, are angels at home and then come out of the home and bring it to, the social arena where, they'll act out and stuff like
So
that.
interesting.
So you really don't, and every child in your home will be different. So your firstborn, your secondborn, your thirdborn, male, female, everybody will be different. What do we do?
As parents.
Basically, when they come to the center, it starts with the drop off, and we see, how the child
What's the best
is.
way to drop off?
I always feel like the best way to drop off is to rip the Band-Aid, leave the child,
And let them settle.
let them cry, because they have to get that anxiety out. If you're still hanging
Hovering.
there, then they're in a
they're in the middle.
very middle kind of position. They still can run, to the mother, but you're still asking them to get on the bus. So you're giving them a choice, basically.
So step one, rip the Band-Aid.
So you say, bye, I'll see you later. Have the best day.
Bye,
And I'll
I'll
come
see
back.
you later. Have the best day. Assure them that you're coming back, that you're going to be back for them, and that if the incident or the anxiety goes on for a certain amount of time, don't tell the child this, but know that we're going to call the parent if the child doesn't calm
So
down.
parents don't have to helicopter on top of you. How's my kid? They're crying.
They don't need to.
You'll call us.
We're aware of who's crying, who's having a hard time, who's not having a hard time. Now, some children will be okay. And once they get into the routine, they'll, especially in the first couple of weeks, and they'll just, get the routine. Transitions are hard for children, especially little children, because they're not sure of what's going on. So when week 5 comes around, they're used to going from the teacher to the counselor to program. Mm-hmm. So you always have to try and give it a little bit of time. If it is an actual issue and your child has anxiety that they're not able to overcome that separation, then we will call you and we will tell you your child is having more difficulty in overcoming, all of this. Maybe try next semester. We're willing to work with.
Oh, you'll say that.
Yeah.
Maybe try next semester. We're definitely willing to work with people. We don't turn anybody away. And a lot of times, if your child is having anxiety, turn it inward. Are you having anxiety
About
about
leaving them.
letting go of your child? That may also contribute to your child being anxious to leave you. I don't think parents realize sometimes that they are the ones that are having anxiety for sure.
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously the general level of separation anxiety. There are kids that definitely have a more clinical version of separation anxiety, and it's very real. And, it shouldn't be ignored. It shouldn't be just, they'll
Grow
get
out of
over
it.
it.
Yeah.
You should be talking to them about it. They could be talking to somebody about it if it's something that continues on and on.
Let's go through the 3
Yeah.
generations. Our moms, and I guess like 10 years older than us, and then our generation.
Yeah.
So,
In terms of even this, but in general.
definitely, our generation, which I say our because I could be your mother. Our generation was less coddling. So, because they were less coddled, because we were less coddled. I mean, Gen X was raised by boomers.
Yes.
Boomers
We're
were
just like, figure it out and do what you got to do. The not coddle, go enjoy, goodbye. Then what's the next gen that you see, you've seen?
the next generation was, mid 2000s, I guess, the Center Sleepaway generation that
I always wanted to go to Center Sleepaway.
It was the best camp of my life.
The Center Sleepaway generation was becoming a little bit more programmed, was becoming, that was when the basketball leagues really started.
And we had flip phones and Blackberries. It wasn't.
They had a little bit of that, so they weren't tracking their children as much, but they were still getting, a little more concerned about their kids and
like
so
being away
on.
for a week in Center Sleepaway. Was there a lot of anxious parents like it
Calling
would
you
be
every
today?
minute. How's my kid? How's my kid? I want to talk to them.
No, I not superly anxious. I mean, they were coming home on Friday. They weren't
Yeah.
away for the entire summer. I didn't feel like there was an overly bit of concern
Okay, and
at
now
the time. Just so many things are informing and worrying the parents of today, whether it be politics, and they're worried about, the state of anti-Semitism, so they're afraid to send their kid out to the corner.
Yes.
To technology, there are some parents that, I don't want my kid on a screen. I don't want them to be friends with kids that are on the phones.
When do you recommend cell phones? Juicy question.
Look, it's a very, very tough. I don't mind the phone. I don't mind being able to be in touch with them. People ask me, do you make them give their phones up for, or staff give their phones in for the day? I don't personally like that. I want to be able to be in contact with my staff.
100%.
If I'm traveling in the summer with the teens, I want to be able to contact them. So it's not the phone part. It's the
like the
social
behavior.
media part. It's the internet part, what they can be accessing on the internet. Those are the parts of the phone that I don't find useful.
do you see the difference in the kids because you dealt with kids pre-phone and now this?
And also pre-social media and post-social
Oh, there's
media.
definitely a difference between children from pre-social media to now.
Yeah.
How could there not be? I tend to think that social media is eventually going to be the downfall of society.
Crying.
I mean, it could
What
be.
about the girls?
There's just
How are
too
the girls?
much. There's just too much sharing, and
You
too
see it
much
affecting the
commenting,
kids?
and that just makes things more than what they really are. And we've lost the through line of what's real and what isn't, because everybody's just commenting and making everything so much more or so much less than what it really is.
Do you find the girls are more like delicate now than they were,
Self-conscious.
self-conscious because of social media, and they're bringing their little summer Fridays to center and all these things?
I think that weight and looks and personality and all of that was always very heavily controlled
Yes.
in being who we want everybody to be. So I don't see any change between that from now to there. All the little girls want the same thing that the little girls wanted.
They still,
Back then.
yeah.
They want, they want to be popular. They want to get married. We would sit around the campfire and we would do like exercises. What's your biggest fear and what's your
Talking,
biggest
yeah.
achievement? And the girls would bring up that their biggest fear was they would never get married.
At 13.
And you think
At the
they're
campfire.
absorbing that from their parents?
They're absorbing it from the
It's
community
culture.
It's
I mean, I
the
guess, I don't know,
culture
we
of the
kind of all
community.
have that.
And I think
ingrained.
that, they're very aware of everything and they absorb that. And I think it's a fear for them, which is, it's a little sad that, from so early on, they're worried.
I want to also talk about this topic in terms of pressure. So it's like, let's say moms are calling you, I'm starting to get to understand a little bit about being, getting into certain programs or, boys in certain sports leagues and things like that.
Certain classes, being with certain people. Like,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
My take has always been allow the children to organically connect with who they connect with. They have to have self-confidence in who they are and love themselves to become what you want them to become when they become teenagers. If they don't have self-confidence, then no matter who their friends were, no matter what sport they played or what league they got into or what school team they played on, it's not going to matter because they are not going to love themselves enough to think that they can then go on and, inform the rest of their life of what they want to do. I can tell you this. If your child is really adamant that they don't want to play the sport that you're signing them up for, nothing we do is going to get them to be involved in that sport. They're going to be sitting on the side. All of the kids are going to be seeing them sitting on the side. All of his friends know that he doesn't like to play.
And it's now
football.
more harm than good.
And now you force the kid into a situation he didn't want to be in, and now he probably doesn't want to go to any program because to him he's
Looked at as the kid on the
associating
side.
program as negative.
Yes.
And so what did you accomplish? Okay, so the child came on
You got rid of
Sunday
him for a few hours.
and sat in the building for a few hours. I mean, we're constantly trying to encourage them, but look, there are some kids that are just not inclined. There are some kids that are nervous about it because they think that they can't do it as good as other kids. And those are the kinds of kids that have performance anxiety and things like that we try and work with and try and build
Bring it
their
out of them, yeah.
self-esteem and such. And then there are some kids that are just not interested.
And what would you tell those moms that are coming from a good place that want the best for their kid, but it's just not the right fit?
I sometimes tell the mothers it's not a right fit, and I'm shooting myself in the foot because they're a paying customer of the center.
But that's the difference. You're
and
caring
I'm
about their
telling
kid
them
more than
that
money.
This is not the right program for your child.
And that's okay.
It's fine.
Do they receive it well sometimes, or sometimes?
It depends on the parent. It really depends on the parent. I think some parents are very, very bought into, this is the
team.
system. This is what has to be
Or
done.
their other kid did such
You're
and such.
a boy. You have to go play basketball. You have to be in this camp. You have to be in this thing. You have to. But again, popularity doesn't come because my kid could play sports. Okay.
Or you
Yes.
signed them up and they sat on the side.
It's an easy way for a kid to be popular. And great, if your kid has that ability, then, you just happen to be. But I mean, there are a lot of parents that they have one kid that's great at sports and another kid that has no interest.
And
You see in the center the kids that are like popular and the kids that aren't. What do you see is different from them? Or is there anything, like, is it even like just popular, such
Confidence.
like yeah.
Honestly, that's what I see.
agree.
The kid that is confident in who they are and know and are getting good feedback about who they are and getting proper corrections about things that they may do that are not right. Not, just screaming at them and, but proper correction about how, that this just wasn't the right way to do it. Maybe if you tried to do it this way, you'll get a different response or a different
Saying
reaction.
with social interactions.
Like
Social
even critiquing your kids
interactions with their teacher
when
or
you
adult.
critique them to not take away their confidence when you're trying to help them fix something. So like you did this, but it's not the end of the world. But
And I could also say the opposite. Don't tell your kid that they're always right, which is another way to really, ruin things. Because the most important thing that a kid should have is the ability to hear
No.
criticism and correction. And it should always be constructive criticism. Always do something positive before you bring up their negative point. You did this so great, but this part, I think that you need to, do this or that or the other thing. Choices are a very good way of, making sure that you're sort of influencing children in the right way because you're giving them two choices that are viable. You're not going to give them a choice that's not not a possibility.
And also something you mentioned when we were talking before this was also about disappointment in the same vein.
Disappointment is a huge, huge lesson of learning when you are a child. And if you don't learn it when you are 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, then the disappointments are still going to come when you're 15 and 16 and 17 and 18. When the disappointment comes and they don't get into the college that they want, or they get turned down by somebody that they really had interest in, you don't get the job you want.
They won't be able to handle it.
You don't get the salary you want. You don't get there's just, it's life. It's just, what are you going to do? Life is full of disappointment.
And that's something that you're seeing, you were saying, more in
see
the coddling.
You can see the coddling.
Like, what's an example of coddling, like, too much, where it's like they're not giving them disappointment?
If your child doesn't make it into a bowlers league, let's say, that's like the biggest disappointment that we deal with right now. And I have parents that come to me and, give me all of their stories, and I understand everybody and where they're coming from. But there are a certain amount of spots, so somebody's going to be disappointed. And if it happens to be your child is going to get their cue of disappointment from you. How disappointed?
Yeah, because I feel like a bad mom if my kid didn't get into bowlers.
Okay.
I would take that personally.
Is that about you or is that about your child?
It's about me and my child.
Will your child be okay if they had to sit out of the basketball league for 2 months?
Well, I know that they're going to
okay?
be disappointed. And I also feel like I'm a bad mom because I didn't get them into bowlers. So yeah, there's a lot going on to tackle.
Those are two very different things. Yes, I have people that tell me that I can't go home unless I could tell my child that they got into bowlers.
Because it means a lot to them and they mean a lot to you.
Does it really mean that much to them?
To the kids
I'm not in that world,
age,
so
yes.
It means some to some kids. Some kids, it means a lot because it means a lot to their parent.
So they want to please their parents.
But even my nephew, like, he loves basketball. Like, I think it's like if you want to be involved in it, and your friends are there. So
here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. I get people who tell me my kid has to take off bowlers this season because of A, B, and C. The pressure, the this, the that. The disappointment is too much when they lose.
Pressure,
the pressure. There's parents. There's all of that. That come into it. How are you dealing with your child when they lose a game? They cry. And so I can understand disappointment. Okay, I did not grow up with a lot of money. My parents couldn't afford to give me what my friends got. We did not get those kinds of
And it
toys.
taught you how to deal with
We
those
did
emotions.
not get, when we would go to the mall, we got, a $20 bill and 10 is for you and 10 is for your sister. Maybe my friends would get $20 or $30 for themselves. And, that's part of disappointment, but it's part of reality. And we had to figure out that we weren't going to be able to have what everybody else has. So was it disappointing? Yes. Did it make my mother feel like a worse parent? I don't think so.
Me as a person, I'm not the type to stalk the people and say, get me in, get me in, get me in. I'm more like passive in that way. But I feel like I'm competing with people that are sharks.
You are me.
I know. So
Well, I
how
can
do you
tell you-
navigate that as a
I
parent?
My
can
baby's
tell
born.
you-
They're in camp. They're
I-
signed up for
I
camp the
did
day after
sign
their
up
birth.
I
for
can
one.
tell you that
Hi, I just had a boy, and his name is now Eddie. Please sign him up for camp in 2 years.
That's why I
I
like
can
you.
tell you that I do look out for the parents that are not as aggressive.
Yeah.
Aggressive parents don't necessarily get their way 100% of the time. I don't know that really is to their advantage in the long run. I realize everybody is coming from a point of stress when they're, confronting me and so on and so forth. But whether, you're an aggressive parent or you're not an aggressive parent, did you get on the waiting list? Did you do what you had to do?
And do your due
Is
I
your
feel
name, where it's supposed to be? And,
your
that's
part.
really how it goes. It is very stressful
Easy.
because everybody wants the exact same thing in the community.
But what you're talking about is
If
disappointment
this
is very
brand,
important.
has the little thing on top that's making it the special whatever now for
Yeah.
the next year, everybody wants that brand, and
Yes.
everybody in the community has to have that brand.
And use that person, use
And
that.
be
that
accepted
yeah.
and feel like a part of it.
It's starts from program down to something you buy in the store.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference. That's where the community's individuality really has to expand out a little bit.
How do
We
Like you
all
said, give your kids the
need-
confidence.
Yeah. How do you do that with your kids when everyone's so similar? Help them find what makes them unique.
It's a balance between doing things that they love that make them unique, and then this is for social reasons, and this is why you're going to here. And I don't think that it's a bad thing to tell a child that, if they happen to really not like basketball or football or whatever it is that you're putting into
Dance. I didn't like dance.
and you
Shocking.
really feel
I
like
see what
and
I'm
you
not a
really
dancer.
feel like it's important for them to go socially, then speak to your child about it socially and tell them, look, it's not really the basketball part that I'm so concerned about. I want you to be able to just hang out with your friends. So if you don't want to play,
Then it's fine.
then it's okay. And
have
give
fun.
us a little bit
Giving
of a
the- taking the
give
weight
us
off
a
of
little
it.
bit of a clue on that so that we don't pressure them that much. And we could be looking out for more of the social parts. I like to be a partner with a parent. I don't like to come down like a rabbi in a school and say A, B, and C, and it's black and white, and that's the way that it goes. Children are not black and white. My answers can't be black and white. There are certain things that are accepted, that are expected. We don't use our hands. We don't hit. We don't, call people names. We treat our elders with respect. Those are things that are non-negotiable, but we will work our way towards that point. But, if your child is not hitting those milestones. When it comes to teens and traveling with the teens, I am not that black and white person. I think that's why the kids get along with me and, they're able to connect with me because I'm not coming down on
You're
them.
never judging.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm not judging them. I'm letting them know that you can do this or you can do that.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
When we got
each choice,
punished.
and this is good. And this is good.
Still nice about it.
Look, I've had to send kids home from Center Sleepaway. I had to fire counselors. I've had to do things that I've had to do. But ultimately, I like kids and teens to make their choice. Do you want to do this? Because this is the consequences to this action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You treat them like
So
adults.
if you want to do
I
that,
think that's why kids really love her.
it's not even an adult. Everybody should be
like a human decency.
from an infant it's reaction, right? So it's everything has a consequence. Do you want to sleep? If you're not going to sleep, you're going to be tired and cranky, right?
Yes.
We just can't give them that choice because they can't answer us back. But as the children become communicative, automatically we should start making them aware of consequences to their actions. Now the consequences have to come, right?
Yeah,
So-
you can't empty.
So you can't,
threat.
you can't allow them to hit and say, if you do that again, then, and then not do it. I'm going to call your mom. I'm going to, this. And then it goes on to the next level if they're not responding. But they should be a part of the process of the understanding. Because otherwise it just goes over their head. And what's the
You've
understanding
seen
of everything?
the kids and you know what works and what responds well. Like something that really always touches me is that I feel like you're my aunt, but I think that other kids not related to you have seen you as that kind of figure in their life for them. When they come to the center, they're having a bad day. There's always a kid in your office just chatting with you.
So nice.
I hope
What
so.
is that like?
I mean,
You're like a mentor.
I tell kids that my door is always open. I'm getting older, so that kind of,
You
just
always
in
have a
its-
fan club, Lil, of kids that straggle to you. In your office.
always, provides a little more distance as you get older. It's a little more difficult, but to me, it's about connecting with them where they are. I can say, no drinking, no smoking, and then
Yeah, for the kids.
and all they're going to do is try and do that behind my back so that I don't see them doing it. Now, I obviously don't tell them they can do it, and there are consequences to their actions if they do it. But I sit down and I have a conversation with them about it. If
This
you're
is
going to
what's
do
gonna
this,
happen.
this is what's going to happen. Is it worth it?
You decide.
Think about what you're going to get out of what you want to do, and think about the consequences. Because ultimately, and I've had to deal with a lot of people on the other side where they did get caught doing something they shouldn't have done, and almost always there's regret. Nobody ever comes to me and say, I'm glad that I did that and
I
now
got
I'm
kicked
getting
out."
kicked out of camp, or I'm getting this or I'm getting that. They regret what they did. They didn't think. They
didn't
made a
think.
bad judgment call. They didn't think. And now they have to deal with
And
the
that's why you said you
consequences.
believe in second chances also, where it's like
I
you
do.
hear the kid out.
There are sometimes
Yeah, when it's appropriate.
there are no second chances. So when I tell them, for instance, drinking and smoking in travel camp, there's no second chance. So you have to let them understand that
That
you're going to ruin
consequence
your
is coming.
summer.
Yeah.
Is it really worth it?
Do you
Yeah.
find that there's a certain type of kid that's always pushing the boundary?
Of course.
Like what type of kid is that?
I feel like it's the kid who needs the most love.
It's the kid that's pushing boundaries, probably looking for attention. But they also have a lot of individuality. They have a lot of,
feel
and
misunderstood.
it just needs to be directed in the right way. Just needs to be directed in the right way. When I got to my teens and I had met the people at Camp David, and I had met Marilyn, and I had met Lisa and everybody there, I was a negative kid. I was very negative and I had a bad attitude. I did not want to go in the direction that people wanted me to go in. I was fighting against that.
But with their support along the way, you're saying
But
that changed?
having support and having people that I knew cared about me no matter what. And I'm sure that my parents cared about me no matter what.
But it's different.
But it's different because they, look, they're raising a family. They have certain expectations and wants and needs and such. And it's hard for them to separate. It's very important to have that person in your life. There are different people that are good for different things. If you have a child that's pushing boundaries, you may want to expose them to different experiences, different people. And sometimes just a click of the right thing said at the right moment might do the trick. It's understanding that, one comment in the right direction opens up a window, opens up a new thought, and they're like, huh.
Yes. By
And
the
it
way,
was just
yeah.
a way and an avenue for them to be positive. So
Yeah.
I always tell my staff when they're dealing with a child who's just being negative, nothing good coming out, do everything you can to find something good to say.
That's very
Everything
nice.
that you can. to find something that they're doing that you can say, great job.
Instead of like yell at them, call the mother and get them picked
All
up.
I want them to be saying, great job, 10 times more than I want them to be saying, no, don't, this, and all of the negative stuff. The negative stuff has to come. I'm not that type that, never say a negative thing to your child. That's not,
No,
realistic.
but you're saying, especially in a place like the center, give them that
I love
positive.
the way that Joey is sitting up against the wall right now.
Yeah.
Such a good listener. He just happens to be sitting up against the wall right now.
But it makes him feel
Give
great.
him a positive reinforcement that he's sitting and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, totally.
A kid gets older. I really love the way that you hung around and you helped clean up the room after. Or I really,
Yeah, you make them feel seen.
I saw the way that you high-fived that kid or went over to him when he missed that shot and you told him it's okay. I really love the way that you did that. That was like really great. Giving kids opportunities. I mean, there's a girl now that does photography because she wasn't necessarily the greatest counselor. So I said, okay, do me a favor. I need pictures. Go around and take pictures of the day. She was 17. She became a photographer.
Wow.
Snaps to you.
You don't know what's going to impact.
Yeah, like what switch is going to turn on.
What switch is going to turn on. And, for me, that happened in Camp David. For any kid, it could happen, and we don't know where it will happen.
Yeah.
But it's going to be positive. It's not going to come from somebody denigrating them and telling them that they're not good and they don't do this right and they don't do that right.
Is there something that, as we're wrapping up, you want to leave parents with as an insider to, somebody who spends time with everybody's kids and you hear and see common things? Is there something you want to leave off to parents?
My best advice is stop worrying so much. Stop worrying. I watch kids. I've had kids from when I was 15 years old working at Camp David that are now almost grandma age. And, so I've seen children grow throughout the spectrum
you can say
of ages. And what I want to say is stop worrying so much. I know that everything frightens you. I know that every little thing that your child says, does, every grade, every program, every basket they hit, you're watching intently and you're trying to interpret what that means for your child. Is my child going to get married? Is my child going to get married? Is my child going to have a good life? Is my child going to marry somebody good? I know that's in a lot of people's heads because I know that they worry about the popularity for that reason, for social reasons. And I can tell you that I never saw a consistent happening that the most popular kids in the grade, when they were in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, automatically, have no troubles in their, late adult and, late teenhood and early adulthood. It doesn't translate.
Yeah.
Because your kid is the best basketball player in the 6th grade, and because they may be the one that everybody calls to make plans with on Sunday, is not going to guarantee that they are going to have an easy teenhood or adulthood.
But you
and
could
that
also
is
relate
not
to
going
that.
to guarantee
Because you were bullied and
I feel like, and I also didn't always have the most amount of friends because I liked different things. I didn't like dance. I liked the basketball team.
Yeah.
So, and my mom was always very encouraging and she signed me up for the programs that I did like. But I think that if you're saying stop worrying, I think it's also a message for us. And we talk about this a lot and being perfect and, but it's like, we just want to do the best thing for our kids. Like, I just want to be the best mom I can and do the most for my child.
The best thing you could do for your kids is let them be, encourage them in who they are, find and help them encourage, help them find and encourage what they are.
yeah.
And, who do they like to hang out with? Those are the friends as long as they have friends, it doesn't matter. The social world is the same for the popular kids and for the kids that are not as popular.
Yeah, if you have friends, you have friends.
We all do the same things in our social lives, right? As long as they have friends that they like being with, Doesn't matter if it's the most popular kid in the grade.
I want to add also one thing to what you're saying. Growing up, 5th, 6th grade, like being a twin, I had a lot of friends. I remember my mom, I used to say, oh, I want to invite this friend over. And she wasn't at all saying him picking my friends. Or I always had 20 plus girls in my house running around. And I feel like now, no shame, like not calling out anyone. The moms are like, can only invite 3 people, not this girl, not that girl. And just like being inclusive and like putting that onto your children is so important for them.
It goes back to the worrying, because parents, and I know this because I deal with group making and such, parents are worried, oh, I don't like the influence of this child, or sometimes it's not even the child, they don't like the parent.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to deal with the parent and their parent group, you know, and so forth. But I really, really feel like, you know, the best kids come from the parent that listens, the parents that don't overstress them, the parents that encourage them to find who they are, what they like, self-esteem. When you get to teenagerhood and you have a self-esteem about yourself and you love yourself, those are the teenagers that are going to make better decisions than the ones that are coming from, oh, I'm not great, I'm not socially great, and I'm not this good, and I'm not good in school, so
Or
I don't
my
want
mom's
to
going to yell at me.
or I can't do this, or I
like
can't
this girl
do
didn't
that.
invite me to her birthday party. My mom's going to be upset. Like,
Yes.
You know?
I mean, like I said, disappointment.
I remember
Are
I got
you
invited to
disappointed
something.
or is your child disappointed?
I think
that
my
they
mom
did?
cared more than I did.
My mother cared more than I did about what I got invited to.
But then when somebody else calls it out, they're like, "Dude, can't believe they didn't invite you." Now you start to feel bad, where you
Not
were
me.
fine with it.
So I think
I'm
as a
fine with
parent,
it.
like, don't put that on your kid. Oh, she didn't invite you. Oh, let's get you invited. Like, take them somewhere else and
take
take
them
them to
somewhere.
Sephora, have the best
I
day
mean,
with
sometimes
them.
it's hard
Like,
to say because we're not at that stage
I
yet,
know.
and the social pressures are just
It's
different with little
different.
kids. But Lillian's the point of
Not
why
from
we
what
have.
I see the pressure starting from the little ones all the way up. And the parents tell me when I'm doing groupings and such, you know, and the kids are, you know, Elliot's going to go to program now, and, you know, he's just turning 3 years old, and the parents like, he has to be with this friend. And I'm like, does he know that this is his friend?
know.
Or
Or
is he
is
her
that
friend?
because you want him to be with that kid?
He's friends with
I
whoever's
don't-
in the group.
I don't think that 90% of them are aware of
Yeah.
the kids that are in
We're
the
doing it
group
for our
with
personal
them.
convenience.
They're 3 years old. They want to feel safe. They want to have fun, and they're not worrying about if
They're not
this
even
friend
aware,
is
yeah.
there or that friend is there. When I get the complaints is when a child goes home and the mom asks, "Were you in the group with?"
Yeah.
And they say no, and then the mom calls and says, "Please put my kid with the." It's not that the kid said,
Like the kid was
I
fine.
really want to be. You know, it's definitely when they get to be 5, 6, that changes for
Yes.
sure. There's a social world and everything, but you can't tell me that your 3-year-old is picking friends. It's not part of what their social understanding is yet. A lot of it comes from the pressures and fears of parents. Just try and remove that a little bit. And if you
give
can't,
your kid confidence,
if
no
you
matter what
can't
they're into, I guess.
on your own, then certainly come and talk to somebody at the center. One of us will be happy to talk to you. There are child psychologists and whatever, and everybody gives that a bad rap. I don't think that anybody should look at that as a negative. I think parents are labeling their children more than the outside world is putting labels on their children.
love that.
You know, so
Just let
don't
them be.
put a scar on your child. Don't tell me that your child is scarred for life. Your child is never scarred for life unless, God forbid, I don't even want to say on
Yes,
here
no.
what can happen to children to scar them for life.
But not making that group is
Not making a group
part of
or not getting
disappointments
on
that you
a
were talking
trip
about.
van or
It's
not
healthy.
making a basketball league or, you know, it's a mother missing a recital. None of that is ever going to scar your child for life unless you put that label on your child.
And I think that's a great way to
That's
close
I want to
the
wrap
episode.
up on that.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you
Shout
so
out
much
to
for
the
being
center. We love you. You're the best.
Center's
welcome.
amazing. It's been such a blessing to our community for so many years, and you heard it here.
Thank
if
you.
if you didn't know what goes in to every little detail of what your kid's program is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really truly amazing. So thank you so much.
And I feel
Thank
much
you.
more comfortable, like as a new mom, to hearing everything that goes on behind the scenes. Thank you so much for everything you do.
The center is an amazing place with amazing support and structures and everything. And, you know, we are professional. The people that work there have been working there for many, many years. They know what they're doing. They know their stuff. Trust them.
Yeah.
Look at us as professionals just because we're part of the community.
And how much you care about the kids. It's truly like
I care about every child. Every child. We didn't get into the special needs world or you know, any of that kind of stuff. Part two.
Part two.
But every child, whether they're neurotypical, neurodivergent, doesn't matter. Every kid is their own unique little being, and they have the right to, you know, participate with all of us, and we love all of them.
I love
Love
that.
that. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being here.
Lil.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you guys for watching OffBrand with OnBrand. This episode is dedicated to the center. Thank you so much for being there for our workouts or sending our kids there. I went Sunday to this cute little play gym. Great things at the center.
Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below and reach out to Lillian as if you already don't do that. Everybody knows her, but you know, we're always here, and let us know what you think.